Chief Economic Advisor has been appointed, and the government has appointed Krishnamurthy Subramanian as the new Chief Economic Advisor for 3 years. This is, of course, as a replacement. This appointment comes in as you know, you had Arvind Subramanian, who was the erstwhile Chief Economic Advisor, stepped down from his position after completing 3 years in office. So this is the appointment of his successor, and that is Krishnamurthy Subramanian. We'll get the credentials of Professor Subramanian also on our screens in just a moment. But that's a new appointment, and I think we'll quickly get in a reaction on what this would mean in terms of how the new Chief Economic Advisor will work with the government, what his stance towards economic growth is, or what is his view on policy making, all of that. What would he bring to the table in terms of discussing matters with the Finance Ministry, with the government at large? It's an important position, and that's why we are highlighting it so much. You know, for the time that Mr. Subramanian was the Chief Economic Advisor, we had him many times come on camera and discuss the government's policies in detail. He was instrumental and closely worked with the government in structuring those policies, and that would be the exact nature of the role that Mr. K. Subramanian, who teaches at the Indian School of Business, will also play. What is interesting, and as I dig out more details on him, is the fact that we would see Mr. Subramanian be in this role for the next 3 years too. So he would not just see, you know, the 6-month period preceding elections, but he would also continue his tenure through the appointment of the new government, whether it's the Modi government coming back with a strong majority or a slim majority, or the appointment of the new government, because you never know what happens with the general elections. Right. But it would be interesting to see how he actually manages his role over the course of the next 3 years.
I was just going through the website of Indian Business where okay, Ruchi is now with us. Ruchi, new appointment of CEA?
Absolutely. This was a panel that was headed by Bimal Jalan, and there were 3 people who were in the fray. Looks like the government has selected Krishnamurthy Subramanian to be the next Chief Economic Advisor. Krishnamurthy Subramanian is a PhD from Chicago Booth and a top-ranking IIT, IIM alumnus as well. He's one of the leading experts in banking, corporate governance, and economic policy. He has also been a part of various committees, you know, under the market regulator SEBI, as well as on governance of banks for the RBI. So he's really, in that sense, one of the chief architects of corporate governance, banking reforms. And this, of course, coming in at a time when, you know, the former Chief Economic Advisor, Arvind Subramanian, had decided to go back after completing a 4-year tenure in India. So we are given to understand that Krishnamurthy Subramanian is the new man at the helm of affairs in Finance Ministry. He will be directly reporting to Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. He has been a part of several standing committees of SEBI on alternate investment policy, primary markets, secondary markets, and research. So all in all, he really has a sense of how things work in India, what are our, you know, challenges, what are our opportunities at this point of time. And in that sense, the government has put Krishnamurthy Subramanian in charge at this point of time.
Oh, absolutely, Ruchi. In fact, Maithili Biswanath, consulting editor ET Now, joins in with her expert opinion reacting to this appointment. Maithili, great to have you on the show. I'll just read out from his profile on the ISB website. His services on the in fact, he has served on the expert committees on corporate governance for SEBI and on governance of banks for the Reserve Bank of India. So, in a way, he has the experience that the government really needs at this juncture to tackle the issues at hand.
Well, yes. In fact, I think that if I just by way of an aside, I think the government seems to think that Tamilian economists make good CEAs because he would be the 3rd Tamilian CA to be appointed to the job, apart from the fact the government also seems to think that people who have cut their teeth abroad make better CEAs, because both Raghu Ram Rajan, Arvind Subramaniam and now Krishnamurthy Subramaniam are all people from economists from Tamil Nadu who cut their teeth abroad. Now, having said that, Krishnamurthy Subramaniam has one redeeming fact, which is that he has worked in India for considerable time before becoming CEA. So he hasn't exactly been parachuted from abroad. And that is a good thing, because it's very important to have an understanding of systems in India if you want to be an effective CEA. And yes, Krishnamurthy has been on a number of committees, both of SEBI as well as in the banking sector. So hopefully he should bring all that to his job. And in the past also the CAs have done a pretty good job. I think Raghu Ram Rajan also did a good job as a CA, and Arvind Subramaniam I think did a better job. So hopefully Krishnamurthy will do still better than Arvind, and that would be a tough job to kind of match.
I find very interesting, Maithili, is the timing of this appointment, because in 6 months we'll have a new government, and we don't know who would form the new government, but it would really be seen as you know, a CEA who's been appointed by the Modi government. So he's also going to in a way have to deal with the changes at the political level. Now if this government comes back, then that just means continuity, but anything can happen in the general elections.
So the fact of the matter, unpleasant as it is, that CAs frankly don't count for very much. Yes, Arvind Subramaniam did play a larger role, but that's because he enjoyed a special relationship under the Modi government with both the finance minister and the prime minister himself. Otherwise, the CA is basically the author of the economic survey, and the economic survey, as the government always says, is more the survey or the report brought out by the CA, which doesn't really bind the government in any way. But yes, he is a very useful sounding board and a think tank for the government. So to that extent, one cannot dismiss the CA's role altogether. But it's really nowhere like, say, not like the finance minister or the governor or the Reserve Bank of India, who I think has far more importance in that. In fact, when you have a governor appointed by one government and then another government comes into place, so far we've seen a very healthy precedent of the governments not interfering, because both Raghu Ram Rajan as well as earlier Y.V. Reddy were allowed to continue their terms even though the government changed. So a CA is not that critical. But yes, to the extent that, CA, as I said, is a good sounding board and he does float new ideas, which the government may or may not accept, it is always good to have a competent CA rather than an incompetent one.
Right, ma'am. Thanks so much for that. Let's wait and hear from Mr. K. Subramaniam as and when we try and, get in touch with him. That will, of course, be the first interaction of CA, of course, would be important, because, you would get a direction of what the thinking is.